Stop Trying to Be Happy by Alex Hormozi. I'm going to be reacting to this video because I've faced a lot of mental struggles in my life. I actually used to be on medication like antidepressants. Depression was a pretty big part of my life for a number of years. Same with anxiety. And so this video really resonates with me. And I think for a lot of entrepreneurs who are already in the game or new to the game, I think it's a really important video for you to watch. And I'm pretty much just going to relate this to my life. If you don't already know who I am, I'm Evan Vance. I'm 23. I run a real estate social media marketing agency. My best month to date has been $77,000 in revenue. On cash, that's like 51,000 or something like that it was. So that said, we're just going to get straight into it.
You have this big vision for your life that you want, and on this side, your family gets kidnapped, and if you don't do something, they will kill them all. Which of those motivates you more right now in this video? When I was 15, 16, 17, I was a pretty angry kid. I thought that I had all these issues. I would tell people I have anger issues. I'm not a nice person. I would tell people those things because I believed those things to be true, and I saw them as problems. And then I went to college.
Now, just before he even goes on, like with him saying that, you know, what he was doing was labeling himself when he was younger. And he always talks about beliefs, right? What you believe to be true about the world. And that was what he believed to be true about himself. So that's what he told other people was true about himself. That's a really big concept that he talks about. So, you know, I'm big into psychology as well. You need to be really careful with the words that you say about other people and even more so about yourself. Because the things that you say end up being the things that you believe, even if it's not intentional. So instead of saying, you know, something, for example, like, I am a neurotic person, which I used to say, I now sometimes say that I have neurotic tendencies, right? And so what happens is that allows me to escape from that label, separate myself from it, and that's really helped with my mental well-being in general over the past year, 2, 3 years that I've been doing it.
And in college, it's all propaganda of people who are teaching who've never actually done work in a real economy ever. They're all tenured, they don't live in reality. They tell everyone they should pursue their purpose and their passion and the things that they love, and I ate it up. And so I read all these books on positive psychology, I watched all these TED Talks, and the problem was I didn't make any progress. And I felt like there was something even more wrong with me because I didn't feel any of that stuff.
In my life, the way it happened was a little bit different. For me, it was that I was always in school and I hated school. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. I hated school. Ever since I was a kid, I was going home and making YouTube channels and websites and just being this weird kid with weird hobbies pretty much. And that's what I liked to do. School to me always pulled me away from what I was really trying to do and loved doing. So I hated it and it made me miserable. And what happened was, essentially at one point I had to decide to go into university, kind of like Alex, forced by family, that kind of thing. So I got into the University of Toronto for their computer science math kind of first year stream program. And I was completely depressed because in the period that I had, you know, there was a period where I had given up, you know, any side projects that I were doing, which were good for my mental well-being. I totally gave them up for this period to get into school and then to do well in school. Funny enough, it was like 5 weeks into university that I started drop shipping and totally gave up.
I wish I could go back and tell myself, dude, all of the stuff they're saying is just not true. Like, you don't need any of that.
And I find this kind of funny too, because for me, that situation has been a little bit different. And what I mean by that is, for me, my passion is building a business, and that's what fulfills me in life. Right, and I think that seems to be kind of what Alex found in his life as well. I don't know the guy too well. I've watched his videos for a couple of years, but that's about it, so I can't say too much. Can't speak for him, obviously. But it seems kind of like that's what happened for him as well. He found, you know, he found a way to make a game out of life. He found a way to turn life into a game, and that's kind of what I did as well. To me, business is a game, but it's always kind of been a game. Although honestly, it was more of a hobby at the start, and then I turned it into a game. But when you turn it into a game, when you turn anything in your life into a game, then it becomes so much more exciting. You know, leveling up, doing this, doing that. I'm sure I could have a good time in a career, honestly, depending on what it was. I'm sure I could, because I would know that I can turn it into a game. So when he says follow your passion, you know, some people have like really strange passions and hobbies that you can't really monetize. For me, I was just lucky that it's something that you can make boatloads of money with, pretty much.
You can embrace the fact that you are angry, you can embrace the fact that you feel like you are in pain, and you can use that to make the life that you want. You don't have to use the lovey-dovey purpose passion to build the life that you want to build. What it does is it tells people that having a negative emotional experience is...
I want to be very clear when I say this. When I dropped out of university after my first year, it was a nightmare. I like hardly did any work. My discipline was terrible. I was making no money. My parents were pressuring me to make money, otherwise I'd need to go back to school. I was completely alone. Nobody believed in me. It sucked. Like, it was bad. So I don't want to make it sound like, oh, I followed my passion and it worked out. Like, it was a pretty awful experience, I'm going to be honest.
But half of your life is below average by definition. And so if you are not using the half of your life as energy or motivation to create the life you want, then you're at a huge disadvantage.
Another little like comment on this, I look at life as kind of like a sine wave thing, right? So there's like your middle point, half the days are above, half the days are below. And you can't really pick exactly when each thing is going to happen, but half the days are above the line and half the days are below the line. And for a set number of those days, like the middle 10%, maybe if you're looking at a chart of 100%, the middle 10% are basically going to feel the same. So you're going to have bad days. They are inevitable, and that's fine.
They interviewed the top Olympic medalists, and they found that they don't actually love winning. They hate losing. When they win, they experience relief, not euphoria.
Same's true for me, honestly.
If you look at Steve Jobs, he wasn't some happy-go-lucky dude who was like, man, I just want to make the world a better place. He was a tough dude to work for, but he created something beautiful from that pain. MJ, you look at Kobe, they had imaginary situations that they created in their minds to create more suffering in their own lives to motivate them and use as fuel. Imagine you have this big vision for your life that you want, and on this side, your family gets kidnapped, and if you don't do something, they will kill them all. Which of those motivates you more right now in this video? Probably the one with your family getting kidnapped. It's not trying to harness a lovey-dovey feeling. It's harnessing pain. Felt like I had experienced more pain than I had good. I saw it.
Now, I want to pause here and say that when I was in school, I know a lot of people were struggling to find the motivation to study, to do whatever it was. And I struggled with the same thing in business when I was pursuing my passion. So think about that, right? And what eventually happened for me was that the pain of, not being at 10K a month, 20K a month, whatever it was, so much exceeded the actual challenges to getting there that I just faced my fears and made those calls that I didn't want to make. Like, I had bad sales anxiety, but it was just the pain of not having the results that I wanted that really pushed me to getting to the point where I wanted to be.
I saw it as a disadvantage. I saw it as something that I had to overcome. I didn't have this big purpose. I didn't have this thing that I loved. I didn't have this thing I was passionate about. And if I could have just skipped all of that and started the moment I accepted that it was okay to be angry, what wasn't okay was not doing anything about it. While I procrastinated by trying to find purpose, jumping from thing to thing to thing, trying to find the thing that really lit my fire. And
I love that he says this, because for me, I've had some moments where I felt like, is it meaningful, the work that I'm doing and this and that? And what I've really learned is that I love building a business, and the vehicle, the niche that you're working in is not, it doesn't have to be like your favorite thing in the world. But for me personally, I really enjoy building a business, and I don't know, it's just, to me, it's the coolest thing ever. Like I said, I'm kind of a nerd, but to me, it's the coolest thing ever. So as long as I can do that, that's all that really matters to me at the end of the day.
And just accepted that it was totally okay to work my face off in disgust from my current circumstance and who I was, then I would have gotten to where I wanted to go much faster. So many people are believing a lie. They have to be happy, they have to have purpose, passion for what they're doing in order to get out of their situation. They think that they are poor because they don't have passion.
That is huge. So many people think that's the case, and it's funny because I've looked at so many different people on YouTube, like for example, Sebastian Georgiou, Iman Gadji. I don't know even who else, but a lot of people aren't in the situation that I'm in. I mean, I know a lot of them really enjoy what they do, but a lot of these stories come from, pain. A lot of people really start what they're doing and do what they're doing and grow the way that they grow because of pain, like he's saying. It's not because of passion.
That is false. You are poor because you're not doing the activities that make you rich.
That is an insane statement and is so true. I had all the passion in the world, and for a good 2.5 years, I was simply too afraid to cold call. And I'm a natural at sales, honestly. For other people's words, not mine. I'm a natural at sales. I could have just cold called my way to making a lot of money, but I had too much sales anxiety and didn't want to do it. So I stalled and tried to learn cold email and do this and that. And while I made, had some good success with cold email, I was not doing the actions that would have made me money fast. So
rich. And you can fuel those activities whatever way you damn well please. And so if you are somebody who is more motivated by the dark side, then lean into the dark side. Unlike the saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Now, when he says, if you're somebody who's motivated by the dark side, everybody's different, right? So you need to find for you, and this is something that, like, nobody can give you the secret key or sauce to. Like, you need to learn for yourself what motivates you. Test. You have to test different things. I test in my sleep pattern. I test in the types of videos I'm making like this. I test in my ad strategies. I test in my VSLs. I test everywhere and everything to optimize, right? So it's a long game. You make these little 1% improvements. I'm getting this from Alex Becker in a video from like 4 years ago or something, 3 years ago. But you make little 1% improvements. You don't like wake up one day and like triple your business or something like that. Like, it happens slowly over time. And then eventually, it's like compounding interest, but just in terms of the optimizations you make, whether that's in a funnel, whether that's in your personal life, your diet, your workout habits, whatever it is. Like, I managed to go from being pretty skinny. I'm pretty skinny right now. I'm injured, lost a lot of weight, been working too much, whatever. But I went from being pretty skinny to being honestly in really good shape in something like 4 or 5 months. I think it was about 5 months, because I was eating right. I was working out like 9 times a week. I was going crazy. So it's about what you are doing.
The road to hell is paved with good intentions. The equal opposite of that is the road to heaven is paved with bad intentions. You can do good shit with bad motivation. And when I say bad, I mean negative experiences, pain, anger, etc. I still have tons of motivation from that side. You can use that negative fuel, hit it on speed dial every time you're confronted with that thing that you don't want to do. You push through it, and what happens, you do that enough times, you start to get good at the thing. You start seeing the result of work that has compounded and start to see a purpose or start to see a bigger vision.
This is unbelievably true. In August of 2019, I started working for a real estate team local to me, and that's where I started. I was getting paid like $2,600 a month or something like that. And I was just like calling all their leads, running their Facebook ads. Then eventually I actually got let go. We started an agency together. That was a mess. Anyway, I got let go right at the start of COVID, started my business, incorporated March of 2021. So it's almost 2 full years that I've been, 2020. It's almost been 3 full years that I've been in business. But again, for the first like 2.5 years, I hardly made any money. It's these little incremental improvements that really allow you to take off.
Vision for Alex's life until maybe 4 years ago was don't be broke. What was your mission with Gym Life? My mission was to stop being poor. There are elements of shit that I do that I absolutely love, but there is tons of shit that I do every day that I fucking hate. I just don't hate it more than I hate the alternative.
Yep.
And the richest people in the world, they all say it's not about the money. Because if it's about the money, you stop the moment you have enough. The people who are the wealthiest in the world have the 3 things in common. They have the big goal, they have massive fears about never being enough, and then they have impulse control to stay on goal. And oftentimes that impulse control comes from right as you approach the guardrail, looking over the edge, and imagining what it would be like to have your friends tell you that you were a failure, or have them laugh behind your back, or talk down about you, or have your parents, when they're introducing you as their fun-loving kid, he's still figuring himself.
I still remember like one of the earlier times that I brought my girlfriend over to my house, my dad just called me out for being a university dropout. And like that was like the pain that really motivated me, and I can feel it right now.
Would crush me. The boring shit that you have to do is not fun. Jeff Bezos talks about overhead in business. There's tons of things that you have to do and be willing to do that you do not enjoy. The question is whether you do not enjoy them more than you do not enjoy the pain that you are going away from. As long as the pain of moving forward is less than the pain of going back and the pain that you imagine from not taking the action that you know you should be taking, then you can use that energy as the single fuel that you can stay on path for an extended period.
Like I said, when I used to have sales anxiety, without going too deep into it, I would have like a pit in my chest, worst anxiety I've ever had in my life, for literally like 18 hours before a sales call. I'd have like one sales call coming up at 3 p.m. tomorrow. Hypothetically, it's 9 p.m. right now. It's not actually, it's 6:25, but at like 9 p.m. I'd start to get the anxiety, and like I'd have like just wrenching anxiety in my chest before even going to sleep when my sales call was the next day at 3 p.m. Eventually, that pain just became more tolerable, like more of something that I could tolerate than this other stuff.
I'm writing my book right now. I'm on the 11th fucking draft. Like, there is no feeling that makes me more sick than the idea that I could have done more. The pain of the idea of that book not doing well, or that book leading to people being like, I don't think he tried as hard.
The one thing that Alex says as well, or he quoted from somebody, was that you only get one name and you carry that name with you everywhere you go. So the work that you do, people will remember you by the work that you do. And so for me, like, I always freak out when I'm not doing as well as I could for my clients or whatever the situation is, because it's extremely important.
That is the thing that hurts so much more than going from the top yet again to make another video, to make another article, to make another short, to make another fucking chapter revision yet again, so that when I do launch it, I think to myself, I literally exhausted every option on this. One of the sayings that I live by is that I will not do my best, I will do what is required. And the difference between what your best is and what is required is the difference between what you think your real best is and what your actual best is. And what your actual best is the thing that you would do to prevent everyone you know from dying. What people care about is the outcome, what you put out in the world. Now, why you do it, what fuels you, that's your business. And so if you are in one of these situations and you can't find that purpose, you can't find that passion, cool, but it doesn't give you permission to not be successful.